Hey there, Kevin. You may be wondering, what am I supposed to do with yoga blocks? So this video is my top 10 ways to use yoga blocks. Okay, number 10 is my favorite, arm balances. A couple ways you can use a block to help with your arm balances. And the thing about the blocks is there's a low, medium, and high. So you can adjust it however you want it. I know you've got your crow, and we've talked about crane, which is a straight-armed crane pose. It's harder to come into crane than it is to crow, and the blocks can help. I haven't quite got this, but the block gives you a little more leverage, and you can come more easily into crane pose. Okay, that's kind of hard. The other thing you can use a block for is to help you balance in arm balances, to help you kind of work on some of the body mechanics. You can balance against the block, and then you can work on the other parts of the pose without worrying so much about balance. So for example, you can do this, and the block is giving you a little stability so you can work on the other challenging aspects of the pose. So that's number 10. Number 9 is to work on the form of your yoga push-up, which we sometimes call chaturanga. And I told you that when we do yoga push-ups, we want the elbow over the hand and the shoulders forward at 90 degrees. And it's a little tricky to develop that. So I'm going to take 2 blocks, one on either side of my hand. Okay, I've got it in the low position here and the tall or medium position here. And if I can do this without knocking this block over, then that's feedback that I'm doing it correctly. And we don't want our shoulder to go too low. This block's keeping our shoulder from going too low. So this can help you learn that yoga push-up form. Okay, yoga block use number 8. We have 2 ways to use it in pigeon. Pigeon is that hip opener you like, okay? So depending on how high or low your hip is, you may find it helpful to put a block under your hip, and that can help you keep your hips square and supported in the pose. Another way to use this in pigeon is to support your head in reclining pigeon, and this can just feel very relaxing and comforting. Okay, you can do it with your hands as well, but the block gives you a little more height. Okay, that's pigeon. Block use number 7 is in runner's lunge. So that is this form, sometimes called lizard pose. And if you get a good stretch like this, that's cool. But if you want to go a little deeper, it may be too much to go onto forearms, but you might like to rest your forearms on a block and get a nice deep hip stretch in runner's lunge. Okay, moving on to number 6, triangle pose. We've done this in one of the videos, Kevin, and it's a deceptively challenging pose. The correct form is really difficult. You're supposed to have your whole back body in one plane as if you were standing against a wall, and then come over like this and bring your hand down, and at the same time kind of roll or slightly twist the rib cage so that your whole back body stays against that plane of the wall. And what happens for a lot of people, including me, is if you take your hand all the way to the floor, you end up coming out of that alignment and rounding a bit. So using the block in any position that works for you can help you get the intended alignment and a good stretch through the rib cage muscles that we're really after in triangle. Okay, pose number 5. So this is a couple ways to use the block to help with chest opening. One way is to put the block in the middle of your back, in between the shoulder blades, and lie down and support your head. We don't want the head to dangle and put stress on the neck. But you can just hang out here and you can see how it's opening the upper back. So this is helpful for back bending preparation. It's helpful for any chest opening, good for posture. Another thing we can do while we're down here that is also for chest opening is a pose called bridge. And it's good to put the block in between your thighs. This is what it looks like. Okay, so this is bridge. When we don't hold the block between our thighs, it's easy for the knees to roll out. And you see what happens when my knees roll to the side? Do you see how I get a little concavity here? That's because it's hard for the hip joints to roll open the way we want them to. So you want to have your knees and your thighs parallel, and holding the block helps us remember that and learn that good form. So the block between the thighs is very helpful in bridge. Okay, top 10 uses for a block number 4. One of my favorite poses is forward fold. And not everybody can put their head to their shins, but putting a block in some orientation can really feel good in this pose, to be supported. And it lets you kind of relax into the pose, and I think it helps the stretch. Okay, moving on, number 3. I wonder if you have the core strength to do this, Kevin. I don't have the core strength yet. There is a pose called Lolasana that there's no way I can do without blocks. I'm not even sure I can do it with blocks. But the idea is we're gonna pick our feet off the floor. That's it. That's it. It takes a lot of core, and it's really hard to do on the floor. I'm not there yet. Maybe you can do it, but Lolasana helps us develop that strength. Okay, did we get through all of them? Okay. Top use for blocks number 2 in a restorative pose. This is a restful pose. It's supposed to just feel really good at the end of a long day. So I've got one block low, one block in a medium position, and let's see if I get these positioned right. Yeah. So this is just a very restful pose. You can hang out here with your eyes closed. It's kind of like corpse pose that we do at the end of a lot of our practices. Or you can just hang out here and chill and take a load off. It's nice. It's nice. Okay, one more restorative pose that takes 2 blocks. Come all the way down, bring your knees up, keep the soles of the feet together, and turn the knees out. Now, I don't have good external rotation in my hips. Some people can get their knees all the way to the floor. You can see I just can't. I don't know about you. But putting blocks under your thighs to kind of take some of that weight and give some support. This is also a restorative pose, a nice end of the day pose. Get a little bit of hip opening in here. Very restful. Okay, so that was number 2. And my top 10, my number 1 use for yoga blocks, Kevin, this will sounds so silly. I don't have one to show you. It's an iPad stand. When we have our video calls, you can put your iPad here, and the camera's gonna be eye level, and you will look even better on video. So that's the funniest use for a block that I could come up with. That's my engineer humor. There you go. So Kevin, those are your top 10 ways to use yoga blocks. Love you.